The universe was vast and full of strange worlds, but Earth was a tiny, unnoticed speck in the middle of it all. To the advanced alien races who controlled the galaxy, Earth was nothing more than a primitive planet. Its people were seen as weak and unimportant. Their technology was far behind the powerful civilizations that roamed the stars, and no one took them seriously. For centuries, Earth was left alone. No one bothered to visit, and no one even cared to notice. But that was about to change. In a distant part of the galaxy, the Zephyrians, an ancient and powerful alien race, decided it was time to expand their empire. Their ships were massive, their weapons unmatched, and their technology was hundreds of years ahead of anything humans could imagine. They had conquered many worlds before, and Earth was nothing more than another star to claim. A fleet of Zephyrian ships entered Earth's orbit without warning. Their leader, Commander Zoltar, looked down at the tiny blue planet below, barely able to hold back a laugh. To him, Earth was an insignificant rock, and the humans living on it were no threat. "We'll take this world easily," Zoltar said to his officers, his voice filled with arrogance. "Their defenses are weak. They don't even have the technology to fight back." He didn't understand that the humans of Earth were unlike any species the Zephyrians had ever encountered before. What they didn't know was that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in technology. It was in their will to survive. At first, the humans didn't even realize what was happening. The world's leaders were caught off guard, unaware that an alien force was already in their skies. Earth's military forces scrambled to respond, but their weapons were no match for the advanced Zephyrian ships. The aliens didn't even need to fire their weapons to cause fear. Just their presence in the sky was enough to make humans tremble. Earth's biggest cities were dark with panic. People were afraid. The humans tried to defend themselves with their best technology, but the Zephyrians' weapons easily wiped out everything that came in their way. As Earth's cities burned, a strange thing started happening. Humans didn't just give up. They fought back. They kept pushing forward, even when they seemed to have no chance of winning. The will to protect their home drove them like nothing else. Even though their technology was no match for the alien forces, the humans were not as helpless as the Zephyrians thought. They had one thing that the Zephyrians didn't: unity. As the world descended into chaos, people from every corner of the globe began to work together. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, and everyday citizens all started to create new weapons and strategies. They began to adapt, to learn from the alien attacks. While the Zephyrians believed that Earth would fall within days, the humans were already planning their counterattacks. What the aliens didn't know was that Earth's military leaders were working on something huge, a secret project that could turn the tide of the war. But no one knew if it would work. As the days passed, the battle between the humans and the Zephyrians grew more intense. Cities were destroyed, but humans refused to give in. They fought with everything they had, every last ounce of energy. The Zephyrians were confused. They had never faced a species like this before, one that was willing to fight, even when the odds were impossible. The Zephyrian fleet, confident in its strength, never expected the humans to push back like this. They underestimated the power of human resilience. To them, humanity was nothing more than a primitive species, but the humans of Earth were about to show them something that would change the entire galaxy. Commander Zoltar stood on his ship's command deck, looking out into the darkness of space. The humans had surprised him. They weren't as weak as he had thought. They were fighting back harder than he could have imagined. But it was too late for them. He had his plans, and Earth would be his. But as Zoltar prepared to give the order for the final strike, something unexpected happened. A ship appeared on the edge of Earth's atmosphere, unlike anything humanity had ever seen before. It wasn't one of Earth's ships. It was massive, sleek, and radiated power. Its technology was far beyond anything the humans could have built. The Zephyrians stared in disbelief. Zoltar's confidence began to crack. "What is that?" he muttered, his eyes wide in shock. The mysterious ship began to move toward the Zephyrian fleet. The humans watched in awe, not knowing where this new ship had come from or who was inside. But one thing was clear: it wasn't a human ship. It was far too advanced for that. And in that moment, the tide of the war began to shift. The sudden appearance of the mysterious ship caught both the humans and Zephyrians off guard. No one knew where it came from or who piloted it. As it moved closer to the Zephyrian fleet, the humans on the ground watched with bated breath. The alien invaders, who had once seen Earth's defense forces as little more than a nuisance, were now facing something they hadn't prepared for. Commander Zoltar, watching from his command deck, felt a twinge of unease. His fleet had been the undisputed ruler of the stars for centuries. Never had they encountered a race that dared to resist them, let alone a race that might be able to strike back with unexpected force. Yet, here they were, Earth's defenders, refusing to submit. And now, this mysterious ship appeared out of nowhere. "Reinforce our shields. Prepare for attack," Zoltar shouted. His voice was filled with authority, but there was a hint of nervousness. He wasn't used to fear. He was used to being the one in control. The mysterious ship, large and imposing, hovered in front of the Zephyrian fleet. Its design was unlike anything the Zephyrians had ever seen. Sleek and advanced, it looked like a weapon capable of obliterating anything in its path. Its hull shimmered with strange energy, a glow that seemed almost unnatural. The humans, still in disbelief, could only watch as it loomed over their enemies. For a moment, there was silence. Then suddenly, the mysterious ship unleashed a barrage of laser fire, each shot hitting its target with deadly precision. The Zephyrians tried to respond, but their weapons seemed almost useless against the new ship's defenses. One by one, their ships exploded into showers of sparks and debris. The aliens fired back, but their attacks were futile. It didn't take long for the humans on the ground to realize that this ship was on their side. It wasn't just an alien ship. It was a weapon, and it was fighting for Earth. The humans, who had been on the brink of defeat, found new hope. The tide of the battle had turned, but no one knew how or why. Back on Earth, military commanders rushed to communicate with the mysterious ship. A new sense of urgency filled the air. The Zephyrian fleet had been pushed back for the moment, but it wouldn't be long before they regrouped. The humans had just gained an ally, but they couldn't waste time wondering where it came from. They had to act, and they had to act fast. "Who's controlling that ship?" General Walker, the head of Earth's United Forces, asked into his communicator. He was speaking to his team of elite soldiers who were stationed around the world. "Do we have contact with the ship yet? Are they allies?" The response came quickly. "We're still trying to establish a connection, sir, but the ship's signals aren't exactly human. It's almost as if it's responding to the Zephyrian fleet's attacks on its own." General Walker's brow furrowed. The ship was not responding to human commands. It was acting independently, as if it had a mind of its own. "What does that mean?" Walker asked, his voice tense. "It means this ship is likely not human, and it's not something we've ever seen before. It's like nothing in our records, sir," the officer replied, his voice filled with uncertainty. At the same time, Commander Zoltar was ordering his forces to regroup and retaliate. The Zephyrians were more organized now, but the appearance of the strange ship had shaken them. They had never encountered a force like this. Despite their overwhelming technological advantage, the Zephyrians had learned that underestimating Earth's resolve, and now this mysterious ship, could cost them dearly. Zoltar watched as his fleet reorganized. He wasn't worried, yet there was a growing sense of discomfort gnawing at him. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. Earth was supposed to fall, and it was supposed to fall easily. Instead, they were fighting back with unexpected strength, and with an unknown ally. "Move in. We take them down now," Zoltar barked, the tone of his voice commanding yet tense. His orders echoed through the Zephyrian ranks, but deep inside, he was uncertain. Could they win this war against an enemy they couldn't fully understand? Back on Earth, the humans watched as the mysterious ship continued to destroy the Zephyrian vessels with ease. The aliens' fleet was beginning to fall apart. In the face of this unexpected force, Earth's forces found a renewed sense of courage. The fear that had gripped their hearts moments before was now replaced with determination. But as the battle raged on, questions began to rise. Who were the people, or beings, behind the mysterious ship? Was this just a one-time intervention, or was it the beginning of something greater? The humans didn't have answers. But they knew one thing for sure. This fight was far from over. The Zephyrians were not going to give up without a fight. And whatever force had come to their aid, it wasn't here to save them. It was here to make sure they survived. As the dust from the battle settled, Earth's leaders gathered. They watched as the mysterious ship faded into the distance, disappearing into the depths of space. Whatever just happened, General Walker said, his voice full of determination, "We have to be ready. The Zephyrians are going to come back. And next time, we'll be prepared. And we'll find out who's behind that ship. Because if we've got allies like that, maybe there's hope for us after all." This section continues to build the suspense and mystery around the appearance of the mysterious ship and the shifting tides of the battle. It also creates intrigue, keeping the audience eager to know who or what is behind this unexpected force that's now helping humanity. Would you like to continue to the next part or tweak anything in this one? The days passed. The mystery surrounding the mysterious ship and its sudden appearance deepened. The battle had ended, for now, with the Zephyrians retreating, but the questions remained. The military command centers across Earth were buzzing with activity, and General Walker knew that they were facing an unknown challenge, one that might be more dangerous than the Zephyrians themselves. On the surface, the humans had won a victory, but deep within their hearts, there was unease. They were no longer sure of who their true allies were. The ship had appeared from nowhere and seemed to have its own agenda. It wasn't responding to human commands, and it wasn't even clear who or what was controlling it. "Sir, we've managed to track the ship's coordinates," said an officer, handing a report to General Walker. "It's not showing up on any of our records. It's almost as if it's been erased." Walker scanned the report, his brow furrowed. "Erased? What do you mean?" "We can't find any data on the ship, sir. Not in any of our military archives, nor any civilian databases. It's almost like it was deliberately hidden." The officer continued, confusion in their voice. "It's as if it's been around for a long time, but no one knew about it." General Walker paused, considering the implications. What kind of ship could exist without leaving a trace? And what kind of force could build a vessel so powerful that it could turn the tide of a galactic war with a single attack? The uncertainty gnawed at him, but there was little time for questions. The Zephyrians were not gone forever. They would regroup, and when they did, they would return with reinforcements. Humanity had been handed a fleeting chance at survival, but what would happen if that mysterious ship didn't return? And what would happen if the enemy discovered the true origin of that ship? General Walker paced back and forth in his command room, his thoughts racing. There was one thing he knew for sure. Earth's forces couldn't survive alone, not for long. Humanity had always relied on their will to fight, but in the face of alien technology far beyond their own, that wasn't enough. They needed answers, and they needed to find that ship's origins. "Sir, we've established a secure communication channel with the mysterious ship," said another officer, interrupting his thoughts. "We have a line open, but it's unlike anything we've encountered. It's alien." Walker's pulse quickened. This was the moment he had been waiting for, the opportunity to communicate with whatever or whoever was behind the ship. "Patch me through," he ordered. His voice was steady, but inside, his heart raced with anticipation. What would he find? Who was out there? The officer hesitated, then activated the comm system. The screen flickered for a moment before an image appeared. It was an alien. No, it was more than that. The figure appeared humanoid, but with a gleaming, almost metallic skin, the color shifting like liquid silver. It had large, expressive eyes, the kind that seemed to pierce straight into one's soul. There was an intelligence in those eyes that was beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. For a moment, neither side spoke. The silence was thick, filled with tension. Finally, the alien spoke, its voice calm and measured but undeniably alien. "You are the humans of Earth. We are watching, and we are waiting." Walker swallowed, his heart hammering in his chest. This was no ordinary encounter. "Who are you?" he demanded, trying to keep his voice steady. "Why did you help us? What do you want?" The alien seemed to consider the question for a moment. "We do not wish for war," it said. "But your people's actions have drawn the attention of forces far beyond your understanding. You have no idea how close you came to destruction." Walker's mind raced. Was this a warning? A threat? Or was this something else entirely? The alien continued, its voice resonating with an air of authority. "We are known as the Iridians. We have observed the galaxy for millennia, and we have seen the rise and fall of countless civilizations. You, humans, are different. You are dangerous, but you also have the potential to be something more." "More?" Walker asked, trying to make sense of the words. "What do you mean?" "You are primitive," the Iridian said, a hint of amusement in its voice. "But you are also resilient. You will fight for survival, even when all seems lost. It is that spirit that caught our attention." The words struck a chord deep within Walker's chest. He realized that this alien race had been watching humanity for far longer than they could have imagined. The Iridians knew of Earth's battles, its victories, its struggles. They knew of humanity's unyielding drive to survive, even against the most insurmountable odds. "You gave us a chance," Walker said, his voice filled with awe and gratitude. "But why? Why us?" The Iridian's gaze softened, just slightly. "You have potential, but your species must choose. Choose whether you will remain as you are, divided, weak, or choose to rise above. Choose whether you will join us in the war to come, or whether you will fall before it." Walker felt a cold shiver run down his spine. The war to come. What was this Iridian talking about? Was there something even more dangerous than the Zephyrians? Something that humanity could not yet comprehend? Before he could ask any more questions, the Iridian spoke again, its voice now cold and distant. "We will be watching. The galaxy is in chaos, and you must decide where you stand. Farewell." The screen went dark. General Walker sat back, stunned by what he had just heard. The mysterious ship, the Iridians, they were no longer just the saviors of Earth. They were now part of a much larger, far more dangerous struggle, and humanity's place in that struggle was still uncertain. The questions weighed heavily on him. What was this war to come? What choices lay ahead for humanity? And what would happen if they made the wrong choice? The days following the mysterious communication were a whirlwind of activity. General Walker couldn't stop thinking about the Iridians' words. Humanity's role in the galaxy, their resilience, their potential, it all weighed heavily on his mind. And the question that lingered in the back of his mind, was this truly an opportunity, or was it a trap? The stakes had never been higher. As the human forces began to regroup after their victory over the Zephyrians, a quiet tension settled over Earth. The Iridians hadn't made their move yet, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time before they would. General Walker had already received reports from his intelligence officers. There were strange signals coming from the farthest corners of the galaxy, signals that had never been detected before. Was it possible the Iridians were preparing for something bigger? "I still don't trust them," said Lieutenant Sarah Hayes, a trusted member of Walker's team. She stood in front of a holographic display showing the status of Earth's defenses, her arms crossed. "We don't even know what they want. They show up, save us, and then leave us with more questions than answers." Walker nodded but didn't immediately respond. The truth was, he had more doubts than he wanted to admit. But there was no denying the undeniable truth. The Iridians were powerful, far more powerful than anything humanity had ever faced. If they wanted to destroy Earth, they could have done so without hesitation. Instead, they offered humanity an alliance. "We need answers," Walker said finally. "The galaxy is changing, and we need to decide where we stand. The Iridians might not be telling us everything, but we can't afford to ignore them." Hayes didn't look convinced. "And if we don't join them, we'll find out soon enough," Walker said, his voice somber. "But we need to prepare, just in case." That night, Walker sat alone in his office, staring out at the stars. Earth was still vulnerable. Humanity had survived one battle, but there was no telling what would happen next. The Iridians had warned him of something worse, something far greater than the Zephyrians. Could the galaxy truly be on the edge of another war? And what would humanity's role be? His mind was restless. Every possible outcome seemed to be filled with uncertainty. Should he trust the Iridians? They had shown power, but they had also shown restraint. Maybe they were genuine in their offer, or maybe they were using humanity as a pawn in a larger, more complex game. But Walker knew one thing. He could not afford to let fear guide his decisions. The future of Earth depended on the choices they made now. Suddenly, a soft beep interrupted his thoughts. The holographic display on his desk flickered to life, and a familiar voice echoed through the room. "General Walker, the Iridians are here. They've arrived in Earth's orbit." Walker's heart skipped a beat. The time had come. As the news spread, Earth's defenses scrambled into position. It was a tense wait. The skies were silent as every human military asset tracked the movements of the Iridian ship. There was no mistaking its power, no doubting that it was more advanced than anything humanity had ever seen. The ship hovered above Earth, an enormous shimmering presence that seemed to bend the very fabric of space around it. A message was received moments later, transmitted directly to Earth's command center. "This is the Iridian High Council. General Walker, we have come to discuss the terms of our alliance." Walker had never been more anxious in his life. The world was watching. His every move would determine not only Earth's future, but also its place in the galaxy. The scene shifted to the Iridian ship. General Walker and a small team of military leaders, including Lieutenant Hayes, had been chosen to represent Earth. They were led into a massive hall, the walls of which pulsed with soft, blue light. It felt like they were stepping into a dream, or a nightmare. At the center of the room stood the same Iridian that had spoken to them before, its metallic skin shimmering with an almost otherworldly glow. Its eyes locked onto Walker's as it spoke again. "You have made a choice to hear us out. But be warned, General. The galaxy is not kind to those who falter. The conflict you face is not merely one of survival. It is a struggle for the future of all species." General Walker squared his shoulders, trying to project confidence despite the unease gnawing at him. "What do you want from us? Why choose us?" The Iridian paused, its gaze unfathomable. "Because you are on the edge of something greater. You are still a species divided, fragile, and untested, but your spirit, the same spirit that kept you fighting against all odds, has caught our attention." A moment of silence hung in the air, heavy with meaning. "We wish to teach you, to guide you. But you must understand this, General Walker. The path you choose will shape the future of not only your world, but every world in the galaxy." Walker took a deep breath. This wasn't just about Earth anymore. It was about something bigger. "What exactly do you want us to do?" he asked, his voice steady but his mind racing. "You must choose," the Iridian said, "whether you will join us in our war against the coming darkness, or if you will stand aside and let the galaxy fall into chaos." General Walker felt the weight of the decision. Humanity's future depended on what came next. Would they align with the Iridians? Would they rise to the challenge of the galaxy's greatest threat? The tension in the room was thick as Walker considered the implications of the Iridian's words. The decision was his, and it was the most important one he would ever make. General Walker sat at the head of the long table, staring across at the Iridians, who seemed to radiate an aura of power. The room was quiet, tense with the weight of what was about to happen. For weeks now, humanity had been holding its breath, unsure whether to trust these mysterious beings who had come from the stars. Yet here they were, standing in front of Earth's leaders, offering humanity a chance at something greater, something that might not only protect Earth but give it a place in the galaxy. Lieutenant Hayes, standing beside Walker, shot him a look of uncertainty. She, like most of the team, hadn't fully trusted the Iridians. There was a sense of dread hanging over the room. Was this a test, a trap, or a genuine alliance? General Walker, the Iridian leader, said, its voice echoing in the vast, almost ethereal room. Your species has shown remarkable resilience, but this galaxy is not a safe place. If you wish to protect your world and those you love, you must understand the war that looms ahead. Walker took a slow breath. And if we don't join you? The Iridian's gaze did not falter. If you refuse, you will be left to defend yourselves against an unstoppable force. We can provide you with the knowledge and power to fight back, but only if you join us now. The stakes had never been higher. Humanity had just barely survived the attack from the Zephyrians. And now, a new threat was emerging, one that could be far worse. The idea of refusing the Iridians' offer felt like a death sentence. And yet, something gnawed at Walker's instincts. There was something about the Iridians' offer that seemed too perfect, too much like a game they were playing. Tell us about this war, Walker said, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. The Iridian leader nodded. A hologram shimmered to life in the center of the room, showing a vast, swirling expanse of galaxies, some teeming with life, others dead and barren. This is the galaxy as you know it, the Iridian began. It is a place of constant struggle, a place where power is the ultimate currency. But something has shifted. A new threat has emerged, an unstoppable, ruthless force that destroys everything in its path. The Zorathians. The image on the hologram shifted, showing a dark, hulking fleet of ships. Each ship looked like it was made of twisted metal, its surface covered in jagged spikes. The Zorathians were an ancient race, known for their barbaric conquests and their ability to destroy entire civilizations without mercy. They come from a distant part of the galaxy, the Iridian continued. They are relentless, and they show no mercy. We have fought them before, and we know their strength, but we cannot defeat them alone. This is where you come in. Walker's heart raced as he watched the hologram shift again. The Zorathian ships moved like a storm, sweeping across the stars. We're not ready, he said, shaking his head. No, the Iridian agreed. But you could be. We can help you. Humanity's will, your drive, it is something the galaxy has never seen before. You have fought for survival when every other species would have given up. If you join us, if you become part of our alliance, we will teach you how to fight. We will give you the knowledge and the technology to stand against the Zorathians, but only if you trust us. Lieutenant Hayes stepped forward, her expression firm. And what's in it for you? What's the real reason you want us to join you? The Iridian leader seemed unfazed by the question. We need your spirit, your resolve. The Zorathians are more than just conquerors. They are destroyers of worlds, eradicating entire civilizations. The galaxy has not seen a force like them in millennia, and the Iridians are not enough to stop them. Walker stood up slowly, his mind racing. Could humanity really become a powerful force in the galaxy? Could they stand alongside the Iridians and fight the Zorathians, or was this just a dangerous gamble? His thoughts raced back to the weeks of preparation and struggle against the Zephyrians. They had barely survived that fight. How could they possibly face something worse? But then his mind returned to the images of Earth, the cities, the people, the world he had sworn to protect. He thought of his family, his soldiers, the millions of people who depended on him. General, Hayes said, her voice pulling him from his thoughts. "This is the moment. We have to decide." Walker's hand clenched into a fist. The decision was in his hands. With a final, heavy breath, he turned back to the Iridians. "We'll do it. We'll join you." The Iridian leader nodded, a faint smile curving its metallic lips. "Then the first step of your journey begins now. We will guide you, and together, we will turn the tide." The room fell silent as Walker looked around at his team. They had made their choice. The alliance was sealed. Humanity was no longer just a bystander in the galaxy's grand drama. They were a force to be reckoned with. But even as the deal was struck, Walker couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. A new war was coming, one far more dangerous than anything Earth had faced before. And humanity's place in that war, whether they would stand as victors or fall before the Zorathian onslaught, was still uncertain. The time had come. After weeks of preparation, training, and strategic alliances, the moment they had been building toward had arrived. The Iridians had shared their vast knowledge, teaching humanity how to harness the power of the stars, how to wield technology far beyond anything they had ever imagined. The time to act was now. General Walker stood on the bridge of the newly christened flagship of Earth's fleet, the Resolute, watching the stars streak by on vast screens. He had been a soldier his entire life, but nothing he had ever experienced compared to this. They weren't just fighting for Earth now. They were fighting for the entire galaxy. Humanity had been cast as primitive for far too long. Now they were about to show the universe exactly what they were capable of. "General," Lieutenant Hayes said, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. "We're ready. The Zorathian fleet is in our sights." Walker turned to face her. His team was ready. The crew was ready. And most importantly, humanity was ready. He had never seen the resolve in their eyes before. Not like this. Not for a cause greater than themselves. "Send the order," Walker said, his voice commanding. Hayes nodded, then turned to the communications officer. Within moments, the fleet moved into position. A fleet of human ships, dozens of them, all bristling with weapons and new alien technologies, moving in perfect formation toward the heart of the Zorathian invasion. The Zorathians had underestimated humanity before. They had mocked them, called them primitive, but they had no idea what was coming for them. As the Resolute and its fleet approached the Zorathian ships, the enemy's massive warships loomed in the distance. The Zorathian ships were unlike anything Earth had ever seen, dark, menacing, and covered in jagged spires that seemed to pulse with energy. They were a true terror of the galaxy. But now, they were facing a force they had never anticipated. Targeting systems locked, the weapons officer reported, his fingers dancing across the console. "All ships are in position." "Fire," Walker ordered, his voice resolute. In an instant, humanity's fleet unleashed a torrent of devastating firepower. Laser beams, plasma blasts, and missiles streaked across space, tearing through the void and smashing into the Zorathian ships. The explosion of light and power lit up the darkness of space as the first Zorathian warship was ripped apart by a direct hit. The Zorathians had expected a conventional fight. What they didn't expect was humanity's ingenuity and their raw fury. With every shot, Earth's fleet grew bolder, more relentless. The ships moved in perfect coordination, working together with precision. Each strike was calculated, every maneuver a testament to the training and experience humanity had gained from the Iridians. But the Zorathians weren't about to roll over. They retaliated fiercely, launching volleys of their own weapons, attempting to overwhelm the human ships. The battle escalated quickly, and the roar of combat filled the bridge. Explosions lit up the viewports as ships exchanged fire, each side trying to gain the upper hand. "We're taking fire from the left flank," shouted the tactical officer. "Shields holding, but we've sustained some damage." "Return fire," Walker ordered without hesitation. "Focus on their engines. Disable their ability to move." The humans were relentless, pushing back against the Zorathians' overwhelming force. For every Zorathian ship that fell, another took its place. But they weren't prepared for humanity's fierce resistance. The humans had been underestimated for too long, and now they were proving themselves in the fires of battle. The battle raged on for hours, but Earth's fleet held its ground. Walker watched as the Zorathians, once so confident in their superiority, began to falter. They had not expected this. Humanity's spirit, their ability to adapt, and their sheer will to survive had turned the tide of the battle. "We've broken their lines," Lieutenant Hayes reported. "We're pushing them back." Walker allowed himself a brief smile. It wasn't over yet, but the first victory was in their grasp. The Zorathians were retreating, their once imposing fleet scattering into the darkness. Humanity had dealt a blow they would never forget. But as Walker looked out at the battlefield, a sense of unease lingered in the pit of his stomach. The Zorathians were formidable, but there was something about their retreat that didn't sit right with him. They were not a species to run from a fight. Something bigger was at play here. "Stay alert," Walker said, his voice quiet but firm. "This battle may be over, but the war is far from won." As humanity's fleet regrouped, preparing for whatever came next, Walker knew that this was only the beginning. The Zorathians would return, and when they did, humanity would be ready. The victory was sweet, but General Walker knew it was only the beginning. The Zorathian fleet had retreated, but the battle had left a trail of destruction across the stars. Even as Earth's ships pulled back to regroup, the fleet commander couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was lurking in the shadows. The crew of the Resolute had returned to Earth for repairs, but the mood on the ship was anything but celebratory. The victory over the Zorathians had been hard-earned, but it had come at a great cost. Human lives had been lost in the battle. Several ships had been damaged, and repairs would take weeks, perhaps months. But it wasn't just the physical damage that weighed heavily on the minds of those aboard. It was the question of what was still out there, beyond the stars, waiting for humanity. "I've seen battles, General," Lieutenant Hayes said, breaking the silence as she approached Walker on the observation deck. "But there's something about this fight that feels different. We've only just begun." Walker nodded, his expression hard as he stared out into the vast expanse of space. The stars were bright, but he felt the weight of an uncertain future hanging over them. "You're right. This isn't over. The Zorathians will regroup, and when they do, we'll need to be ready. But we're not alone in this fight anymore." Hayes glanced over her shoulder toward the Iridian fleet, docked alongside Earth's warships. The alliance with the Iridians had brought unimaginable power to humanity, technology that had transformed their fleet into a formidable force. But even with their help, Walker knew it wouldn't be enough to defeat every enemy they would face. "We've made powerful allies, but we've also made enemies," Walker said, his voice low. "And if the Zorathians are part of something larger, we need to be prepared. We can't rely on anyone else to save us. We have to do this ourselves." Hayes nodded, understanding the unspoken truth. Humanity had taken its first step onto the galactic stage, and while the victory against the Zorathians was monumental, it had also drawn the attention of other, more powerful forces. The galaxy was full of ancient civilizations, some peaceful, some hostile. Humanity had just declared itself as a force to be reckoned with, and they were not prepared for what that would mean. Back on Earth, a council of military and political leaders convened to discuss the next steps. The war was far from over, and the galaxy was an unpredictable place. It had become clear that the old ways of thinking, of isolating Earth, of remaining within the comfort of the homeworld, were no longer an option. Humanity had no choice but to embrace its place in the wider galaxy. At the council meeting, General Walker addressed the room. The tension was palpable as the various leaders, representing the military, the government, and the scientific community, gathered to discuss humanity's future. "We've proven ourselves to the galaxy," Walker began, his voice carrying the weight of the responsibility that now rested on their shoulders. "But we've also made it clear that we won't back down. We've shown that when we fight, we don't give up." Now we have to show the galaxy what humanity can do, not just in battle, but in peace, in exploration, and in building a new future. There was a murmur of agreement from the assembled leaders, but Walker could sense their fear as well. Humanity was no longer isolated. They had stepped into the larger universe, and it was a universe that was filled with dangers far beyond their imagination. The Zorathians had been the first test, but there would be more, many more. I know this isn't going to be easy, Walker continued, but we've already proven that we're stronger than they thought. We have the technology, we have the will, we have the resolve. And now we have to show the rest of the galaxy who we are. This isn't just about defeating invaders. This is about reshaping the galaxy, about showing that humanity can rise, no matter the odds. The room fell silent as the weight of Walker's words settled in. The fate of humanity was no longer just in the hands of a few on Earth. It was in the hands of every human being who had the courage to stand up and fight, no matter the cost. Outside, in the dark reaches of space, a new chapter for humanity was about to begin. The Zorathians were just the beginning. There would be new allies to meet, new enemies to face, and new worlds to explore. But humanity was no longer the underdog. The galaxy was vast, and they had only just begun to understand it. But one thing was certain: humanity would never again be underestimated. As the first stars of the new age began to light up the galaxy, General Walker stood tall, looking out at the future. A future full of challenges, yes, but also full of endless possibilities. Humanity had awoken, and the galaxy would never be the same.